Hey everybody, it's Eromanga again. Still here at Best Guy Ever's house, so why not do video once again?
That's right.
This time, like, awkwardly close, so that every time we don't look directly into the camera, it'll be wildly apparent. Should we both be wearing sunglasses right now?
I'm mixing it up with my glasses because I just got these new ones, and they look fantastic.
So, for this episode, if you haven't watched Eromanga Sensei Episode 9 yet, we did a reaction to it. So go ahead and go watch that.
Can they find a link in the description,
There will be a link in the description. It's on Google Drive. Watch it before it gets taken down.
Yeah.
And yeah, go check that out if you're interested. We probably say more in that than we will in this, because this episode was a whole vapid lot of fucking nothing.
Sure, there are a couple things to comment on in regards to Elf, mostly. It's an Elf episode, but yeah, it's an almost a nothing episode.
The fact that it's an Elf episode is almost the worst part.
That's really the problem with it, isn't it?
It's really the biggest issue. And, like, that last episode, we gave a lot of... I mean, we had a lot of complaints about it, but we gave a lot of goodwill to the previous episode.
Right, we sure did.
8. There was a lot to like about that episode. It had better animation, better drama. It felt like it was making potentially interesting strides with the characters.
Yeah.
This episode goes entirely in the opposite direction. And on some level, it's just a fan service. It's a beach episode.
Yeah.
Like, apparent from the very start. It starts off with shots of the water. But what's worse about it is that it's a beach episode centered on Elf. Elf, who we were praising in the last episode, the fact that it seemed like she was being written out of the love triangle.
She knew her role, and now she has forgotten her role.
So
it's a problem.
We were establishing this idea that... You know, Eromanga is realizing that she's in trouble with these other girls around, and
she accepted it. She was like, she knew Sagiri's the girl. He's in love with Sagiri. Like, what am I gonna do? It's done.
Elf knows he loves Sagiri. Sagiri is the there's a misunderstanding here that there's a chance he'd get with one of the other girls, but that misunderstanding is only on the part of Sagiri. Like, here's where this gets weird, is that, like, we keep roping in Muramasa and Elf.
Yeah.
And both of them are well aware that our main guy is in love with somebody else and that he, like, won't choose them. But they keep chasing after him, and we keep getting led on. And, like, from a dramatic narrative standpoint, Sagiri thinks that he might end up with one of them because she hasn't done enough.
Right.
She hasn't she hasn't made her intentions clear. She thinks that he thinks that she's in love with somebody else. So, like, from that perspective, it would make sense to, like, have the other girls moving in and be like, hey, they might be the ones. And, like, if main character guy doesn't think his sister likes him, he could get with one of these girls. But these girls don't know that. And so it's really weird feeling this, like, this constant insistence that they're contenders when, like, they're not. They're not contenders. Our main guy is in love with his sister. She's in love with him, and that's what's going to happen.
What you're describing is the result of the show writers, like, knowing, okay, we're going for the harem angle. That's what we're going for. And yet also wanting to have this, like, destined little sister thing. They're trying to have those both happen at the same time, and it completely doesn't work. It's a fundamental mistake.
The whole thing is just, it's very strange, and it felt like we were making progress in a good direction by having Elf kind of get bowed out, where, like, he says, you'd make a good older sister to me, and she's like, okay, I get it. You know, like, I'm in love with him, but he's obviously not in love with me. He sees me as, like, or a big sister,
Big sister,
like, he sees me as just a sister. I know he loves Sagiri. I'm gonna bow out or something, or at least, like, be a bit player. But then this episode is, like, this constant insistence that she is a viable candidate for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It explicitly, she confesses to him.
She asks for marriage. She asks for literal marriage.
She says that he's a contender for her marriage.
Yeah.
Which this episode is they go to Elf's beach house. I guess she's from a rich family.
Yeah, yeah.
She's got a lavish beach estate. Her brother's there. Her brother, who has no personality whatsoever.
His one personality moment is when he's like, please marry Elf.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's really important that this 14-year-old girl start planning her marriage.
So I guess his personality is he's slightly goofy.
Like, he's a little awkward.
He's a little...
Yeah, he's a little awkward.
Just no more so than anyone else in the show.
I mean, I'm fascinated by the character of that other dude. That other dude.
That's his name. That other dude.
Zero character traits. Zero. He is there. It's like they're playing him up like he's like a new buddy character, but he doesn't do anything. He's just there to be reacted to react to the goofy things the other characters are doing. Like when he walks in on a brother, elf older brother, and the guy, and like the super awkwardly autistically, like the way that the brother brings up marriage is like he grabs the hands of the guy and he's like, marriage, and like the guy walks in, he's like, I'm out of here. I didn't see anything. Sorry to disturb you.
That's his.
You did it.
His lot in the show. He's reaction guy.
I love that guy. He's my favorite character. Him and the fat guy from that episode running. Those are my two heroes.
And if you didn't watch our reaction, let me say now, the guy, the brother, is literally a fucking Sword Art Online character.
Yeah, the rapist.
He's got the exact. I think it's him. I think he's the one who had the long.
I'm pretty sure. I've watched those and I believe so.
Yeah. Same character design. I mean, we've been saying this A1 shit all along, but like, there's just moments where it really hits you in the face, and you're like, I'm watching Sword Art.
Speaking of A1 shit, we have to address how unattractive Elf was in her bathing suit, which was a huge problem.
Yeah, because that's the thing. This is a fan service episode.
Right.
It's all about the beach, and I mean, for what it's worth, beach episodes usually look bad because the reason they exist is, at least this is the stereotype, and I mean, animators have corroborated this, and like staff members, that when they need a break on the show, they like when they just want to like take it slow, like they're getting up to their deadlines, they need something, they break out the beach episode, and the point of it is just get characters in bathing suits. It doesn't matter if they're animated. We just use panning stills, which is usually the case.
You see it all the time.
And it. Yeah, just like people will watch it because they're in bathing suits, and the ratings stay consistent or even go higher in spite of the animation being worse. And like, this is the epitome of that. The animation was pretty shit.
Yep.
The artwork and animation was pretty bad for this whole episode.
But like distinctly bad. We were talking a bunch in the thing about Elf's anatomy. Like it's all about the tit shots, right? With her, and she's got small breasts, and that's totally fine. But they were weirdly high on her chest and like too close together in an awkward way.
I don't even think that's an art. Like I don't think that was an error in the artwork. That's just a bad design.
You think so?
Like, I just think she has a shitty bathing suit design. Like they drew her to be that way and it looks bad.
It's not good. It's not good.
Like there are other outfits. Her casual attire in this episode is good. Elf is a character who like really lives or dies on the outfit they put her in.
It's true.
Like
it's
when
very
they do up her hair and they put her in a cute outfit, she looks fine. But like just the character designs in this show are not very strong, and like you have to doll them up. You have to give them like a good looking outfit, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess these characters are kind of cute, but like on a moment to moment they just look like shit.
For sure.
And Elf kind of gets it the worst.
I do want to say though that when Muramasa showed up briefly in her bathing suit, she looked great. She looked wonderful.
Just because she had like
she's got full
tits
breasts,
and
she's
her hair doesn't
stacked.
look stupid.
Her hair.
There's nothing exceptional about these designs, and seeing them in bathing suits was not enticing. It didn't.
I was just Elf was on screen. I was doing this.
Yeah.
And then when Muramasa was like.
And then they didn't show much of Muramasa though,
because she's embarrassed. So that's pretty arousing too. She's like, no, look at my big old titties.
The first shot of her where you're like, okay, cool, she's got big tits, and you're like,
I was like, we knew she would. It's so obvious.
Well, I was like kind of excited to see her like
run
fan
around
service, but then like the next shot is like this below the ass shot that's not quite there.
It was uncomfortable.
And it lasts like 30 seconds, and that's like the last we see. Like,
and then she's wearing a jacket immediately. Yeah.
I mean, I know we complain about the fan service in this show, but don't get it wrong. We are both big fan service guys.
Of course.
We love fan service.
No doubt.
You have to do it right.
Right.
And this, if it's not tantalizing, it's annoying, because it's like, what are we here to accomplish?
Or borderline criminal. When it gets into like a criminal element of just bizarre creepiness, do not want to see. That's its own thing.
If we're here for fan service, you have to
It's
deliver
the beach episode, so it's time.
Like, or else I can just go look at porn. Like, give me the appeal of a fan service episode in a show like this is that I like these characters, so I want to see them naked, and I want to know how good they look, so that I can then go jack off and imagine them in their bathing suits. And seeing Elf in her bathing suit made me less attracted to her.
Yeah.
Muramasa a little more, mostly because we hadn't seen her skin at all up to this point. So like seeing her in a bathing suit, it's like you kind of fills in the gaps in your imagination. Oh, she's okay,
pretty good.
Elf I could have imagined better. you know?
Without a doubt, Elf makes me want her to lose because I don't want to think of her being naked anymore. I don't know. I just really was turned off by her fucking body. It was not good.
Her bathing suit looked like shit.
She looked terrible.
She looked all right when she was like laying on her front and like you got the side boob.
Well, that's what I think is just shitty animation. Someone doesn't know how to draw like an attractive bikini-wearing, small-breasted person or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
Well,
can we talk at the beginning of the episode how like this really wasn't a big deal, but like Sagiri is like excited for like him to go with the other girls because she's excited because she's like made deals that she's gonna be able to like with Elf, she made a deal that if she allows her brother to go, then she's gonna, it doesn't specify, but clearly she's doing something perfect because she makes the face. Yeah. So she's gonna like draw her naked or something like that.
Yeah, she's made deals with Muramasa and Elf that they get to spend time with her brother as long as she gets to draw them.
And again,
everything about these relationships is so fucking warped and weird.
Like Sagiri, remember, Sagiri's game plan, like her dream in life is to get married by her own volition. Yeah. And she's not got her eye on the ball because she's like fucking it up by like, yeah, go hang out on a sexy island with these sexy bitches. Yeah. Go for it. I don't give a fuck. I'll look at them naked later and that'll make me fulfilled in my life. Idiots.
I hate this episode so much. I hate this show. I hate these characters.
And it really feels worse because, you know, like, I don't know. People after the last episode, they're just like, hey, here it comes. We told you the upturn is starting. Everything good's happening. And just immediately, it goes to shit.
Just because Elf is so bad in this episode. Like, she just sucks. Like, she's such a fucking...
We haven't talked about, like, the way she's trying to fuck this dude on the beach, like, the entire time.
Dude, it's this weird... The thing about her character is that, like, the moments when she's best is when she's, like, putting on this weird air of maturity and, like, the main guy said you would make a good big sister.
Yeah.
So, like, I want her to be a big sister character. But then her attitude when she's, like, flirting is utterly childish. And when she's talking about herself, like, she does the... her brother calls her Chunibyo in this. And, like, I had... In the early episodes, I got that they were doing a Chunibyo thing, and I thought maybe it was self-aware. Like, she made, like, when she comes downstairs with her manuscript, and she's all like, oh, I opened a dark portal, and it sprang forth.
Yeah, that
I
happened,
thought
like,
she was
one
just
time.
joking.
Yeah.
But then she keeps doing it, and it doesn't feel like she's doing it as a joke. I don't know, I don't get it. I don't get her character. She's confusing, you know? And not in a
It's been a problem all along.
way. Like, because it just feels like the person who said this line would not say this line. That's how it always feels. Like, I just can't get a good picture of her. And, like, there's just moments where she's fucking insufferable.
Yeah.
You know? There's moments where you're like, God, shut the fuck up, Elf. Jesus Christ, you know?
It's really a shame. We were saying that this episode is where good characters go to die. Or otherwise decent characters. There's just... Elf
has... In the last episode, Elf was good.
Yeah.
In this episode, she is pretty consistently shit.
Yeah.
Her flirting's annoying. Her constant, like, weird bouncing between, like, extremely flirtatious and then totally reticent. You know, like, oh, rub lotion on me. I'm taking my shirt off. Come over here. And then, like, getting embarrassed about, like, him, like, pointing out that she is doing that. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what you're doing. What the fuck are you...
I guess because she doesn't think before she acts. I don't know, whatever. The way that she really clearly understood the situation about, like, how deeply the dude loves his sister and how he's committed to that 100%. Like, she had accepted that and was mature about it and was taking her backseat role, and it's just gone in this episode. So much backtracking this episode, just digging up old shit, and it's infuriating to me how consistently the main character fucks it up again and again, because there's a scene in the hot tub with the brother later on where, like, you can hear banging. It's obviously Elf listening through the wall, and you can tell, and he's just talking about how, like before he said, like, I love Muramasa second in the world, like, please be afraid of this potential rival of yours, Sagiri. And now, like, with Elf listening in, he's like, and he invites Muramasa to, you know, like, to that party and now to the island. And during this scene, like, he's telling the dude, like, if it weren't for this girl I'm already in love with, I would have fallen in love with Elf 5 times over. Who the fuck says that shit about a girl that is, like, not your top girl? And you're like, he's like telling people he barely knows this shit. And this dude wants him to marry his little sister. He's trying to make that happen, and he's giving him, like, fuel to fuck up the relationship he's trying to pursue with his sister.
Yeah.
He's just such a fucking idiot. And then Elf overhears it, and then later on, and she has this confession scene, which is obviously spurned on by him saying, I literally would be in love with this girl if it weren't for this one obstacle. And then Elf, of course, comes to the conclusion at the end of the episode that she's gonna make that go away. She's gonna work on this problem of Sagiri being there. That's the whole problem. He's created this for himself. Just stick with Sagiri. Stop fucking it up. Jesus. These are so obvious things. You just don't do this if you actually want to get with this girl. It's the harem shit colliding with the like little sister destined thing. It's just so agonizing.
It's bizarre, man. It's a bizarre turn because there's ways that it's almost interesting. Like, if I believed that he would get with one of these other girls, or if there would be a harem end, I would be totally into like him ending up with all three of them somehow in some weird way. But Sagiri wouldn't be into that at all. And
no.
How weird is it that like Elf and Muramasa just let the other one be around for all this? Like, I guess it's that they're this guy is fucking with these girls.
He really is.
And like it's kind of gross because he knows that Muramasa's in love with him.
He knows 100%, and he keeps inviting her to shit. That is tormenting her. Why would you do that?
Because the thing is, of course she's gonna go.
Yeah.
Because she's not gonna miss an opportunity when these other girls are there. But like, he's literally like making them face the fact that he's like, yeah, haha, I know you love me, but I'm hanging out with this other girl who also loves me too.
I just want to clarify.
Let me make you all hang out together. Like,
real talk, real life talk. If there's a girl, if there's a guy who, like, this happens more with girls do this. Like, if there's a guy who's into you, and you know that he's into you, like, make it clear that it's not gonna happen, because he will orbit you, and you can absolutely take advantage of him if you want to, but that's not a good thing to do, so I would encourage you not to do it. Of course, guys can do this too, with girls that enter them. Don't let them be orbiters. Be clear with them. I'm not interested. It's not happening between us, because otherwise you are literally manipulating them and taking advantage of their feelings, and it is not a good thing to do, and that is what this guy is doing every episode of this fucking show.
And not seeming to get that he's doing
and we're just, I don't know, like, we're supposed to think that he's just dumb or like laughing it off or something. He doesn't get it. He obviously doesn't get it.
We're watching this man damage these girls.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And like, even if that's the joke and he doesn't get it, we get it.
Right.
And it's just like, what are you fucking doing? You know, it's frustrating and it's just not entertaining. Like, I know the response to this would be like, don't take it that seriously. It's a comedy show. But what's funny about that?
There's nothing
funny about it. What is funny about this? What is entertaining about the scenario? It's just frustrating. It's just like, it's not that I'm taking it seriously. I shouldn't be watching this show.
Right.
You know, we're watching this to shit on it. Like, it's not a show for us.
Yeah.
Because we think about these things. But, like, that's what it is. It is a guy, like, fucking over all these girls who like him by not, like, you know, I don't know.
He's just not.
A lot of
he's not making it. He's
too.
Teasing them. He keeps stringing. At least Muramasa. He's stringing along. Like, hey, why don't you come to this party with us? You know, it's going to be a fun time. Why don't you? Why did he fucking invite her? It's because like he wants to be friends with her or something. He's not being a man and making the hard choice that like, okay, this girl's into me. This is the situation. I can either lead her along and be an asshole because I want her around and want to like get the enjoyment of her company, but I'm going to be hurting her at the same time, or I can break it off clean and just be like, okay, we're done. You know what? I respect you, but we're done.
The only way
that's the good thing to do.
The only way this can be interesting is if we find out that like he is keeping her around because he's worried that things won't work out with his sister and he wants a fallback. It would be a shitty thing that he's doing, but it would be an interesting character.
I would understand that. You know? That would make him a more interesting guy.
It's possible that's what's going on, but like they have to make that clear for it to be interesting.
Of course.
You know? Like, because otherwise it just feels like this weird, mindless, thoughtless fucking... we just need a harem. Let's keep these girls around.
I'm telling you, that's where this is going. There is nothing bright at the end of this rainbow. There is only darkness. It is not. We're not
bright
getting anything.
At the end of a rainbow,
or something like that.
You mean tunnel.
Whatever. There's not going to be any kind of magical like big twist ending where it's actually a harem or he actually goes with Muramasa. It's not happening. There is no chance.
There will be no ending for this season,
right?
Because it's going to have a second season. I guarantee it.
Whenever this show eventually ends, or the manga ends, or the light novel fucking ends, or any of these iterations, it's not happening that he's not getting with the girl. Your time is being wasted if you think otherwise. You're being taken for a fucking ride.
I'm so worried that we're going to just get Ore Imo again, where he hooks up with what's the fuck, and then we watch them be a couple for a little while, and then they break up, and it's all dramatic. And then he gets with the next girl, and they're a couple for a little while, and they break up, and it's all dramatic. And then he does the obvious thing that was going to happen. But at least in Oreimo, it wasn't even really obvious that he'd get with the girl, the sister. Like, Kuroneko, that seemed real, which is why it ultimately pissed so many people off.
Right.
Because it seemed legit. At least this show won't be able to do that to you.
This show is not going to do that. I really don't see that happening. Yeah.
Like, and I mean, think about what it says for the quality of early Oreimo, that even if it pisses you off so much with where it goes, like, it got you invested in this idea of him and Kuroneko together. Like, this show at least can't do that to you, which just is even speaking even more to how shit it is, that it doesn't even have the emotional gravitas to trick you into thinking that anything other than what's gonna happen is gonna happen, you know?
Poor Kuroneko. It's not that, like, the situation she's in, whatever, but she's trapped in Oreimo. She's trapped in there. I want to set her free. There are so many good girls.
She has her own manga.
I had no idea.
It is a Kuroneko manga.
Is it a continuation?
I don't know.
I want to see her continue her life without that piece of shit, what's his face, Kyosuke or whatever.
Trapped in some shitty fucking.
I would love. I might actually read that just to make myself feel good about like
depending
life
on if
after Oreimo.
A manga that does that, you know.
That's true. Maybe it's just like a.
But it is like a
alt universe.
It's like a whole series. I've seen it in stores.
Oh, that's cool. I'll probably check it out.
But yeah, this show, I mean, you wouldn't read an elf manga, would you?
No. Well, see, I was gonna make a distinction. Yeah. She is good. She deserves to be saved. Elf, like, there is potential for a good character there, but she is not actually one.
A lot of this show is potential. Like, I think Muramasa, I said this early in the episode, Elf and Muramasa were in a scene together, and I was like, both of these would be, like, my best girl in a show where they were written decently. Like, Muramasa, if they actually delivered on this, like, weird, she's like a bumbling idiot, like, she takes herself seriously, but she's clumsy and doesn't know what's going on, and, like, she has this really adorable, pure love for the main character, but also this, like, weird psycho side that comes out every once in a while. Like, there's a lot of elements of a good character, but it's just handled with so flaccidly that, like, you never get the full effect. You never have the moe moment. Like, the best moments she has are just when she's making puppy dog eyes right into the camera, you know?
Yeah.
That's the moment where you're always like, oh, she's kind of cute. You know, in this one, like, when she's wearing the jacket and she's just like, I don't know. Like, you know, she's... In that moment, she's okay. Because you're picturing, oh, she looks like she wants to suck my dick.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But, like, you know, at all other times, she's just so forgettable. And, like... And then Elf, whose personality makes no fucking sense. And, like, if she just stuck to something that was good...
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying she has to be totally consistent at all times. Like, people have multiple sides to them. But it's just so incongruous.
I feel like this... I mean, it feels like the result you get of, like, studio meddling. Where the guy's like, okay, we've got this, like... I mean, the guy came up with... He presents this idea of, like, okay, here's our character. She's like, she's a brat... but she's actually, like, wise about the world. Like, she actually, she puts on an air of not working hard, but she actually works incredibly hard, and it really gets the business. But then someone was like, you know what, let's do that, but she's also really lazy. And the guy was like, well, he didn't object to this. He's like, I guess that works. Okay.
That's where it's weird. It's like,
she's both. She's both of those things.
She simultaneously is pretending to be a retard while also being a genius, but then also... is a retard.
Yeah.
That's the problem here.
Yeah. It's true.
and we also pointed out in our watching of the episode that, like, the other girls are just gone.
Remember the girl with the dick girl? Where the fuck is she at? I want to see that bitch naked. What's going on?
Dick girl hasn't showed up in like 3 episodes.
Yeah. And the bookstore girl.
Bookstore girl hasn't showed up in like 3 episodes.
This is the beach episode. Put them in it. Like, just have them in the background. More people will be interested. They fucked up. I don't know. And Sagiri, they could do a thing where she's in a room in her bathing suit, like being like, I want to be there too. I'm wearing my bathing suit.
We've seen more than enough of Sagiri's fucking body. I don't
that's
want
true,
to look
but
at her
that's just
anymore.
what they do. Like, and this is good. I want her to feel pain as a NEET, like I've said before. But she should be in a room, like, pretending that she's doing the fun things everyone else is doing, to remind you, the audience, that being a NEET is terrible, and you don't want to do it. It's garbage.
Yeah, and I will give credit to the fact that they didn't ham-fist a way for her to be a NEET on the island somehow. At least they just left her at home.
As they should.
But, like, I don't know. There didn't seem like there was any negative consequences for her not being there. Like
she was happy. She was stoked.
Elf is making this, like, advance in the relationship, but we know it's not panning
in an
towards
incredibly
anything.
out-of-character way, she didn't give a fuck that, like, he was going to this fucking romantic island with these girls.
Yeah.
Why didn't she care? Why was she just okay with it? Convenience. Just for convenience.
I mean, this episode feels like... The fact that it's a beach episode really compounds this, but, like, the whole thing feels like it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like, right from the start, you feel like, okay, this is a side story. This is just a thing, like, we're putting the brakes on the actual plot.
Yep.
Let's go do a side thing. Let's just do an episode about Elf. Everybody likes Elf. Let's do an episode about Elf. But instead, because it then becomes part of the plot, but, like, again, it feels like Elf's already written out of the story.
Yeah.
So, like, this is too,
it's just so
too
awkward.
little too late here. Like, we're finally confessing what we already knew, which is that Elf is in love with the guy.
Yep.
And it's after a point where that doesn't seem to matter anymore. So, like, now it just feels like, okay, why are we stringing this along? Why are we keeping her involved? Why not just write her out of the show? Why not write, like, we don't need two girls that are potentially his fallback.
Yeah.
You know, we already have Muramasa, and Muramasa's...
Unless they're going for that harem end. Unless they pull that off.
Muramasa's thing made sense and was all right, and then to just do the exact same thing with Elf right afterwards, just like, God,
yeah,
here
it's
we
terrible.
go. Like,
it's terrible.
Now we got all these fucking orbiters, the Spurned Women's Club,
yeah.
You know, that's gonna follow him around, just like in SAO. And then these weird, shitty, boring side character guys who mean nothing.
Yeah.
Who are, like, have no personality at all.
You know, I get, like, the manager guy. Like, he's like, serious. I don't know. He's like an older brother, so it's like, oh, I hang out with your girl and do sexy things with her. I'm intimidated by you. So, like, I mean, I kind of, that's fine. But that other dude, nothing. He is an empty shell. There are no traits to this man.
Why did he even come with them?
Because he, like, is a writer and, like, he was in the Budokai as well or something.
Like, they pointed out,
but narratively, I don't know why he's there.
Someone pointed out in the comments in the last video that, like, they brought, like, that party was, like, for the end of the Tenkaichi Budokai.
Yeah.
So they bring in this guy who nobody knows because he was, like, one of the winners. And then also Elf is there, who isn't even in it. She was not even a part of the Tenkaichi Budokai.
Yeah,
she just was there at the party.
She's a friend of the family, I guess.
It's just, like, what?
I don't
it's
know,
just,
man.
Here's all the relevant characters. Like,
she wasn't in it, was she?
They explained a whole bunch of shit to make it make sense, and it didn't make sense. They should have just said, here's another guy. Just, here you go. We need another male character, I guess, for some reason. I don't know why. Why do we need him?
We don't. I mean, he's the reactor guy, but I really think you could just do it without him. You did not need... And, like, his outfit is so, like light pastel. He just blends into the environment. Yeah. He's, like, invisible at all times.
The only thing that he did in this episode was, like, a gay joke. That's
that one time.
His whole existence in this episode. He came with them to this beach resort so that he could accidentally see a gay joke.
They could have, like, just had one of, like, the bathhouse managers or something do that. Or anyone. Or anybody. Whatever. Yeah.
They just needed another guy.
They could have had Elf or Muramasa react to it, and they could have been like, "Oh no, are my chances messed up because he's actually gay?" I'd get kind of a laugh out of that or something, as opposed to a character who does nothing. I don't know.
Do you think this guy's ever gonna, like? What, are they gonna, like, dump one of the girls on him at some point? Because they've shown no interest in him.
Yeah.
No one's shown
any interest in this guy at any point.
No one has spoken to him. Like, no one's been like, "Hey, what's your deal, man?" Like,
at the party,
"Hey, I read your book. It was pretty all right." Like, no one has talked to this guy.
At the party, he, like, described himself, and that was the end of it. Yeah. That's it.
No one gives a fuck. They just bring him along because why not? He's just in the show now, so he has to be there.
He's the real protagonist, the real hero.
Man.
Well, he's committed no sins. You know, that's better than everybody else on the show. Way to go, dude. Keep it up. Keep up doing nothing. That's the way to stay alive in this show. Well, do we have anything else to say about this fucking episode?
It has an original ending video, which
right.
is just like 3 panning shots of Elf in her shitty bathing suit.
I just wanted to clarify. So for the ending, they do this thing where, like, it starts up and they have, like, the title card, and they did a thing where, like, it shows Elf had, like, graffitied on top of the normal, like, Eromanga sensei. It's like the great Elf Yamada, like, great sensei or whatever instead. And I was excited, like, oh cool, we're gonna see like an elf dancing ending instead, which is gonna be exciting. It's just like 3 panning shots of that ugly ass elf bathing suit looking terrible. It was such a I was like the biggest disappointment of the show. I was like, we're gonna see some cool dancing with Elf at the end, but no, it was garbage.
They could have just reskinned the other dance and it still would
I wish they had. I wish they had.
But no, it's
I mean, I'm sure that was too much work. That's
if
where like 90%.
bathing suit was attractive, it might have been okay to
put her in something else. Put her in one of her dresses. She looks cute in some of them.
She has some cute outfits. And I'll talk about because I mean we've said the animation was not very good in this episode. Artwork was inconsistent and it just looks flat and boring.
Remember that dude's face and it was like, and they were in the bath.
The saddest part is the big confession scene because they set it in what should be a cool location.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're out by like a lakeside in the woods. There's all these fireflies around, and like. The thing is, they're doing a thing where the sky is dark, like a deep blue, and the forest all around is lit deep blue, but the fireflies are green, and they are lit as though by the light of the fireflies, but it's completely even lighting in a way that would be like what the moon was casting on them.
No effort was put into doing any kind of decent lighting on them at all.
So they looked fucking weird because they look green, and like for a second I didn't understand why. Like I didn't get at first that they were being lit by the fireflies because the fireflies aren't lighting anything else. Like it's not as though the whole environment is being lit green by these fireflies. They just have an even layer of green color on them, and the fireflies are also green and everything else is an even blue. Like if it was an interplay of lighting between the way that the moon is lighting them and then these green fireflies. I mean, if you want to see a scene that does this, go on like Sakugaboru and look for Yamano Susume. There was a scene that like this gorgeously animated scene of the characters seeing fireflies out in the woods, and like they've got the lights cascading onto them. Or of course, Grave of the Fireflies has some scenes like that.
Right,
you know?
They should have been like blue, and then as the fireflies went by, a little green, like lights up on their faces. It could have been magical.
It doesn't have to be super advanced,
right?
But like. Because they are just green, it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just, it didn't, there was no magic to that scene. Like, I had to sit there and look at the location for a second and be like, okay, this would be romantic, in anything else. Like, there's no attention to detail in the environment. It doesn't look like a special place. There's just is fireflies,
Yeah.
And,
but Elle gives the big speech about her mother and how her mother met her father and how romantic it was. So we're supposed to care, but just too many problems. Too many problems to give a fuck.
Yeah. Do you have any other comments about this fucking...
Nope.
It really did, like, put us back to square one with this show.
Definitely.
Like, I mean, it's such a side story that it's hard to be, like, as mad as if it, like, none of this feels like it mattered. It feels like this was just a tangent that is completely irrelevant.
The thing that mattered was that they went so far back on Elf's character and her romantic development, and, like, that was the only thing that was important in the episode, and was the only thing it did, and it was a huge step backward for that character, and it's just gonna waste more of our time, so...
Certainly, any goodwill the last two episodes bought is gone. I'm right back to, well, this is the worst anime I've watched this far into in a long time, you know, so... Yeah, c'est la vie.
Sayonara, Mina-san!
See you next week.